broke it.
I didn't break shit. Okay, I didn't break shit. But
Why don't you get us going, John?
It's fixed
Let's
now.
get the
We're
show
fine.
on the road.
You know what? Okay, fine. We're a half an hour late and everything's fucking burning to the ground, but it's fine. Hi, everybody.
It's gonna be a good show.
It is.
Hello.
It is. Yeah. So okay.
Well, let's be fair. It can't get worse.
Oh yes, it can. so we were gonna have Danielle McRae on tonight. She just recently had her big break in Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's one of her biggest roles so far. We were really excited to have her on, but she was having some technical difficulties with Discord. So we are going to reschedule her because we didn't want to wait any longer to come live. And we have Jessica Howard joining us. Hi, Jessica. How you doing?
Good. Yeah.
Sorry for the shit show.
No, oh my gosh. It makes me feel good because I think this is everybody's behind the scenes, right? Like Uppercut has this stuff happen all the time. We just recorded our PAX West panel yesterday. Time isn't real, so I have to think about it. And it was the same way. So
all right, I still feel bad though because you know of course we have somebody who's never been on before and you always want to put your best foot forward and just be like hey, this is how we do things here, and we've got Finn on his fucking cell phone and my lights don't work and
you don't have to put on airs for me. It's okay.
Okay, all right. Well, also with me tonight we have Jeff. Jeff, what's up, buddy?
Hello.
And Finn. Finn, stop showing us your room and say hi.
Hello, everybody. I miss everyone. You're all lovely.
I'm gonna turn Jeff up a little bit because Jeff, you're coming in a little quiet.
I could just jam the mic closer to my mouth. How's that?
I could also just turn you up. I mean, that would probably be more comfortable for you. So
boost me.
There we go. Consider yourself boosted. So Jessica, tell us a little bit about what I could talk to people about what you do, but I'd rather have you do it. So So what do you do in the content creation community?
So I am the I'm not the editor in chief. I can't even think. I am the managing editor at Uppercut, which is a games criticism website. I also host a few podcasts over there. I do Palin Around is like our flagship show, so I do that twice a month. We have Kiss Kiss Game. We have a new show that's going to be coming out next week called Anyone Up. And that's going to be kind of like our monthly news recap show. And then I also recently got an internship at Paste Magazine. So I am working in the game section there and also doing social media. And that's kind of what I do. I primarily write. And I tweet a lot. Watching your content creation career kind of come into its own has been really, really gratifying. Because that's sweet to say.
Well, I think that you are you guys all have a good thing going on there, but you are one of those individuals who I think has always put out really, really not just good content, but also like timely content. Like that article you just wrote. I think that like individuals like you are what I like to see in content creation, and I think you got a bright future in it. So it's been really nice to see your career kind of grow over the past year. Because I think I met you for the first time at PAX East. And that was seems like 2 years ago, doesn't it?
It really does, but at the same time, like because I met so many people at PAX East, and that was like my first time meeting them, and it was only for such like a brief period of time. It's weird because it doesn't seem like I've known people for that long because it was like, oh, I met you for 2 hours a year and a half ago. But yeah, so it's weird. It seems like it was forever ago, but also it seems like there's no possible way I've been doing this that long.
I know. Tell me about it. We've been doing this for how many years now, Jeff? 4 years? 5 years? Like
at least 4, coming up 5 probably.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're past episode 200 now, so it's been a weird ride, but we are very happy to have you with us tonight.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
I'm just really excited that you're gonna jump into the other side of the internet as a social media content creator, like for a publication, because that's just a whole different world.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's fairly basic, just like make sure these tweets are scheduled and you know what I mean? But eventually I think it's going to start being more like branded personality stuff and making more of like I don't know, making it more human, and that's what I'm scared for, because you have to like ride the line between like being funny and likable and like posting that stuff and being tacky, so like that's the thing.
The brands are at it again.
Balancing your own personality with the brand personality is a tightrope.
Which is fun. That's funny, Jessica, because Jeff and Finn are actually our two social media guys who run the official SDGC account. And you can 110% fucking tell who's tweeting what. And it
doesn't matter for us, but if I'm doing it for work, that's a very different deal.
But what I'm saying is like you could try to make it a little easier to tell your like add some mystery to it. Be like, who's tweeting right now? Is it Jeff or Finn? I'm so intrigued. But instead,
the flowchart is simple. Is there a bad pun? Yes. It's Finn.
Yeah, and like with Uppercut, we all kind of have access and just like tweet whenever, but it's at Uppercut I feel like there's the liberty of like we can be kind of shitposty and funny, which is that's me on Twitter. I just had a tweet about masturbating to a Daredevil scene.
I saw that was good. That was very good.
Like that's a tweet that like for what I expected like 20 likes and then 600 likes later. I don't know why. But like that's the type of, and so whenever Pace was like, oh yeah, we have a platform of 250,000 people and you're gonna be tweeting us account, I was like, I just don't know about that.
Just be careful about plagiarism because no one wants
you
to
paste.
So
yeah. I just got that. Oh god.
if you were gonna masturbate to a particular scene, like that would be the one I feel. Like I mean that.
Oh yeah.
Like that scene was filmed in one take. And that I remember that. Like, actually, no, I'm not gonna make that joke. I'm not gonna do that. So anyway,
John's gonna be like, I did that.
I actually literally did that. Like I would. Okay, look. Okay, this is getting weird. All right, so there's not a whole lot that happened this week, and of course, Danielle was not able to be on tonight. We're going to talk to her about her career and stuff like that. So I think what we should do, let's start off by talking about what we've been playing recently, and it doesn't even have to. It doesn't. Oh, Jessica's fucking ready, and
I'm ready to go.
It's not even. We don't even have to limit it to what we've been playing. But if you want to just talk about what you've been doing recently too. To kind of survive these really, really shitty times we're living in. Feel free to talk about that as well. But Jessica, as our guest, why don't you go ahead and kick us off?
Okay, so it's not the most recent game I beat. The most recent game I beat is Halo Combat Evolved, the first one. I beat that a few nights ago. It was my first time ever playing Halo. It is. I knew nothing about that story. How little I knew, I did not realize you played as Master Chief. I thought that he was just like the head guy in that who like you worked under.
Wait, what?
Like some bureaucratic paper pushing.
I figured he was just like some cool like leader, and like you were just some like army
Master Chief. I just, but you know
like
what,
Marine.
You know though, Jessica, that's the Halo I want now. Just like you're just some scrub, and Master Chief is the guy sitting behind the desk, like turn in your badge and your weapon. I don't want to see you anywhere near this investigation. Like that's what I want now from Halo.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I didn't realize you played as Master Chief. Now I know. I also did not realize that like the game halfway through becomes like kind of almost like space horror-ish. Like once the flood kind of arrived, I was like, oh yeah. Yeah, I was like, oh, this is Alien now. Okay. And that actually is the point in which it kind of clicked for me, and I really liked it. So.
That's funny. I actually, I'll talk about when I get to what I've been playing, but I just played through the Halo games again, and when I got to that part in Halo 1, I actually do not like that. I don't mind the flood. I find some of the levels in the first game really confusing. So like that particular one where the flood first show up, all the hallways look the same to me, and I just never felt like I knew where to go.
All the hallways look the same in that game, just in general.
Yeah.
I do like there are certain things like I played it And I definitely thought the entire time, like, I get why this was a big deal. And I see where Destiny like came from that. And I see where like games like Mass Effect like came from that and stuff too. And yeah, like that's I get why people liked it, but there are definitely some things that I don't think aged well.
I think.
And
oh no, Jess, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Design. No, I said no, just like the level design being one of the things, but also, I mean, you have to consider like how limited the scope was at that point too. So.
Well, I mean, for its time, like that was an incredibly impressive game. Like I think Halo came out. Yeah. Halo came out what, like 2001? One? Yeah, was it 2001? And whenever I would play Halo with my buddies, you know, sitting on the couch, it would always just devolve into everybody grabbing a sniper rifle and like trying to snipe each other point blank. And you couldn't really, like, everything was split screen at that time. Like, you know, nobody was playing that shit online because you couldn't. So like, it was basically impossible to snipe anybody because you're all playing on the same screen. It's like, well, okay, fucker, I know where you're at. So it's like you can't really snipe me. I know what's up. But like, what if I like to think that when Master Chief takes his helmet off,
I think that
Craig.
My favorite thing to do. Oh.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. But there's like a weird lag now.
I think it's like delaying really bad.
Yeah.
Like it was quiet for me, and that's why. Oh yeah.
There's a weird lag on Discord now. Jeff and Finn, are you guys seeing this?
No, I think it's just between you two. You like, yeah.
Let me, you know what? I can hop out. And
hop out and hop back in. Hop out and man, it's just nothing but fucking bad times tonight.
We're gonna soldier through this fucking show.
We're gonna make this show work. How about it, Jess?
It looks good.
There
right?
we go. I don't know what the fuck that was.
That was super weird.
That was so weird.
But no, God, what was I even going to say? I don't even. Oh, I was gonna say, my favorite thing to do was to tell Andrew to like come over, and be like, oh, come here, come look at this, or like we have to go this way, and then just sticky grenade him. He hated it.
That's why Vicky won't play games with me. Because I'd rather take us both down than let her win.
Yeah.
I'd rather, yeah. Finn, what was that?
Socky learned that lesson anytime we try to play Mario Party. I would always just betray her and get the stars. There was no cooperation.
I refuse to believe that you've played Mario Party anytime in the past year and a half, though.
Super Mario Party last year.
All is fair in love and Mario Party. So
you've been playing anything else?
Yeah, I also just beat last week. You caught me at a really good week because I've actually beat some games.
Oh,
I played Alan Wake.
For
the first time.
I really liked it. That's a great fucking game.
It's a very, very, very good game.
I love the not just like Twin Peaks influences, but the Stephen King like that game wears Stephen King on its sleeve.
Yeah.
And one of the things that embarrasses me about Alan Wake is it took me like 12 years to like I'm sitting down one day and like I was reading something and all of a sudden like I popped up and I was like, oh shit, awake, holy shit, like 12 years after the fucking game comes out, like I had that revelation. I felt like an idiot.
No, I just tweeted about that, and like I thought that I was just observing something that probably everybody had observed before, but I'm so late to playing it. And there were so many people who were like, "Oh my god!" And I was like, "Oh, I don't feel so bad now."
Yeah, no, it was a revelation for me. I was like, and then you feel real stupid. You're like, "Oh, I really." Once you actually see it, it's incredibly obvious. Like, why did I not pick up on that earlier?
What inspired me to play it, because I saw the chat and people are talking about Control, was because they have the Alan Wake expansion coming, and I have not yet played Control. I have watched the majority of the game played because I watched Andrew play it, and like it's just so cool. And I really want to get to playing. I think that's gonna be the next game that I play after I knock out a few things that I have to play for pieces that I'm doing. But yeah, and I was like, you know what? I should just start with Alan Wake, and then I should jump into Control, and then do the expansion. I also played American Nightmare too. Not nearly as good as the actual game, in my opinion, but
that's the Alan Wake DLC, right?
Not DLC. It was like a separate game, but it I don't know. It's very short though. It's almost kind of more like a.
Or it's like a side story. But you're still playing as Alan, right? Like you're still playing as. Okay, that's what I thought. All right. Yeah, I never actually played that. That's what
I don't think you gotta.
Really?
No, I don't think so.
Alan Wake is one of those games I am surprised that we haven't seen like an HD port to current gen consoles. It's still a beautiful game, and like I wouldn't necessarily, and I don't know, maybe you have a different opinion. I wouldn't necessarily call it like scary, but it's definitely like tense. It's eerie. And I feel like something like the Switch especially would be well suited to playing that game.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And you're absolutely right. It's not like a horror game in the fact that it's like scary, makes you jump.
Right.
There's like a few times when I would like jump and stuff like that. But it's like capital H horror, and that like it has those horror elements, it has a tense atmosphere. And those are honestly the types of games I like playing, because I am kind of a baby and I can't do stuff like Outlast or Amnesia. Like I can't do horror. That's just too much.
I love it.
But yeah, is that your cup of tea?
Oh
no, I'm saying I am just like you. I am a big scary baby.
Finn's a babby. Yeah.
Play scary games.
I like horror.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm agreeing with you. Like I like horror, but I can't handle scary games.
Yeah, that's exactly how I'm. Like I like horror conceptually. And like I like the atmosphere, but I don't want to, be terrified for a few hours every night playing a game. I played Resident Evil 2, or at least most of it, and like that's a test.
I absolutely love that game. Anything else you wanted to talk about? Any other games or anything you've been doing in general to kind of keep yourself sane?
So for me, it's actually really great because I feel like my life is starting to have a routine again. For the longest time, I just was at home. And now, like, I recently got Ring Fit. I've been doing some Ring Fit, so that's kind of added a little bit of structure into my life. My job opened back up after COVID shutdowns and stuff like that, so I'm back to work. My school starts on Monday, and that's all going to be online. So it's going to be a weird learning process, but at the same time, just like having that like schedule of knowing work needs to get done is good. And then I also started at Paste. So I feel like it's funny because I'm going from like a whole lot of nothing into just a shit ton of work.
Yeah.
But I prefer that because I'm somebody who needs structure, like especially, like I have BPD, and like one of the things with BPD, or really so if you suffer from like depression, anxiety, whatever, one of the best things for you is to have structure in your life and to have a routine and to kind of manage your stress and anxiety and expectations that way. So for me, it's great. I'm really happy to be doing things again.
That's fantastic. And again, you're doing a fantastic job. You're doing great stuff, and it's going to be really, really cool to see the way your career pans out at Paste. So congratulations. Well, seriously, congratulations about that. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Jeff, what about you?
I've been playing some games. So I guess to continue the Halo theme, I mentioned earlier, I played through a bit of Halo history. I played Halo 1 like when it came out on the original Xbox 100 years ago or whatever, and liked it. And I never played Halo 2 at the time. And then I finally played Halo 2 on the Master Chief Collection on my Xbox One. And I was like, everyone was telling me like, oh man, you're so lucky. There was this big cliffhanger at the end of Halo 2 that we had to wait like 3 years for or whatever to have it resolved in Halo 3. And you just got to jump right from Halo 2 to 3. So I played Halo 2, and then that was when I got really bad hand and wrist problems, and I actually couldn't use a controller for a month or two. So I had to take a break from playing games, and then I got really fucking poor, and I had to sell my Xbox One. So I was like, goodbye, Halo. So I only played Halo 2. So I've been waiting for it to come back out on the PC to play Halo 3. And they announced it for PC like a year ago. And I was like, oh, I'll be playing Halo 3 in like a couple months. And it took a long ass time for them to kind of figure out how to release the games quickly there. So I finally just played Halo 3 last week, and yeah, that's a good fucking game. I think the series, at least from 1 to 3, gradually gets better. Like Jess said, I appreciate a lot of the stuff that Halo 1 does and how important it was for its time. But definitely there's some aspects of it that are dated, like the level design, the storytelling is very stiff and kind of just not really existent. You get one cutscene per level with a little bit of exposition, and they obviously had like kind of an idea, but they hadn't fleshed it out. And then 2 just goes bonkers. I think 2 is actually the storytelling in that's a little bit messy. They kind of jump all over the place between Arbiter and Master Chief, and it gets a little hard to follow. But Halo 3 is like a really good. It's finally kind of getting to like that modern feel of games where there's some real good open areas and some really big, set pieces. Like really fun sequences with the Warthog. There's parts where you're fighting these, the giant. I don't know the name of them, the spidery walkers and things like that, and you're
spidery walkers. That's what they're called.
Yeah, okay. I'm sure some Halo nerds calling me out, but
do the Warthog physics get better?
No, but the Warthog physics are perfect.
Oh my god. Okay, so Andrew was the designated driver throughout Halo 1, my husband. And it's towards the very end of Halo 1 when you're like rushing through while the Halo while you're exploding it. And he just kept bumping into stuff and just doing a horrible job, and it got to one of those things where I was like, just let me do it. Like, I'm just gonna do it. And I took the controller and I started trying to do it, and I was like, you know what? Actually, you can do this. I get it now.
The Warthog, I love it because it's such a unique control style, but it definitely breaks your brain sometimes. And if you think that was fun, the end of Halo 3 has another identical Warthog sequence, but now the ground is falling out beneath you, and you have to steer around or else you just fall out from under it. So
it's just it's so floaty. Like, I feel like it gets hit by one thing and you're just flipping around, and I'm just like,
yeah, it makes for some comedic moments, but I get the frustration.
I mean, that's just how that's just how vehicles work in real life. I don't know. Yeah, I don't understand what anybody's complaining about. That's just vehicle physics in the real world. Yeah, no, it happens to me all the time.
Yeah,
all the time. Yeah, I do it just for fun. You know, like I just roll around. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going with that. Jeff, what else you
got? Yeah, so I finished Halo 3, and I guess I'll play Reach eventually, that and ODST are all that's left, but I've also been playing Microsoft Flight Simulator because I'm just a big nerd, just a huge nerd, and I was in the closed beta for it, so I was playing it about the last month or something like that. I can't, as I found out, I'm not even allowed to talk about anything from the beta now that the beta's over, because I had Microsoft actually directly reach out to me for something I posted. I was like, no.
They actually showed up at Jeff's front door with a syringe. And
they're like, I know the beta's over, but you can never talk about that.
The Men in Black showed up and flashy thinged them.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. It's just like the little. Yeah.
But I can't talk about the release version because I'm playing that on Game Pass, and yeah, it's awesome. I talked about it on the last show, so I won't go over it like too much more, but it's just like such a chill game. Sometimes I even, just for like some background ambience, I threw it up on my big TV behind me, just throw the plane on autopilot and just cruise from one side of the country to the other. I like to throw on Spotify with it too. Like, it's kind of sucks. I played Euro Truck Simulator, and they've actually got like built-in like radio stations for each of the countries. So if you're driving in Germany, you can like tune into real German music stations and stuff like
that's
that.
Dope, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I wish, I guess in an airplane, maybe they don't get FM radio up there, but so maybe that wouldn't be realistic. But I'd like to see them, and it's going to be like a 10-year platform. I'm sure it'll get tons of updates, so it'd be cool to add that. But I just have Spotify on the side, and I don't know, it's a real good way to just wind down and relax.
Didn't you fly over my house while you were playing it?
Yeah, that's my favorite thing to do. Is like, I mean, it was cool to fly over other people, but like, it's such a weird thing because it uses actual map data, and it looks so, like, literally everything is where it's supposed to be. So it's not like another game where you have to look at a map and try to figure where you're going. It's like you can just navigate through the world based on your own knowledge of driving this area for your whole life, like where you grew up. It's such a hard thing to explain, and it's so surreal, but it's really, really cool. It's just an amazing piece of technology.
Have you seen those glitches where you've got like giant towers of Babel, basically just like shooting off into the sky, like as high as the eye can see?
Yeah, that's one thing I knew because I've played enough of these kind of games. I knew leading up to release, they're showing all the beautiful trailers, and everyone's like, "How could this be real?" I'm like, you wait till you get a little closer to the ground and things will start to break. There's like buildings they simulate traffic, but sometimes there might be traffic going like under a building through a bridge, and the game doesn't know that, so the cars just drive up the bridge or up the building and over it. Or like I was flying around London, and they've kind of just used autogen to fill in water where they think there's supposed to be water, but they filled it too high, so a lot of the bridges in London are underwater, and there's just cars driving into the water.
It's just like a painting. Just look at it from far away. It's perfect.
Exactly.
It's
don't break the illusion.
It's a Van Gogh. That's all you got. Yeah, it's abstract. It's abstract. What else you got, Jeff?
No, that's about it. I guess the last thing I could talk about is my wife started playing Final Fantasy 14. So yeah. So I mean, kind of hard. She's just powering through the main story quest, so we don't get to play together too much. But it's been really fun. I've been doing dungeons with her, and it actually got me to try out different classes. I was like, I'm a dragoon. I'm just going to be a dragoon till I die. I don't want to level another class. Too much work. But I started a healer class, the astrology, and you start at 30, right?
Right.
So it's been pretty fun. Like I wouldn't want to play it as my main, but it's getting me to experience the game in a different kind of way that I haven't after 300 hours. And I've never played a healer in any kind of game, so playing that kind of role is fun. And then we can queue into dungeons instantly, and I'm helping her learn the ropes for the game. But she's already picked it up pretty quick. She's showing me a few things that I didn't know. So
now that I actually hit 80 on my blacksmith, I'm actually making you a really nice looking spear for some glam.
Yes, please.
I'm gonna send it to you. It's all glowy. It's got a lot of particle effects. You're gonna like it. It's good stuff. And this is actually a really good segue into Finn, because Finn, I have a question for you. Like, you love Final Fantasy as much as I do, right? Like look behind me, right? Like, I love Final Fantasy. And I know you do too, Finn. So why are you not playing Final Fantasy 14? Because it is literally, as Jeff can attest to, it is nothing. It is like Final Fantasy. It is like Final Fantasy fan stuff, the game. It's fan service, the game for Final Fantasy. Like, I don't understand why you of all people are not playing this.
Well, to my credit, I'm paying for it.
Why aren't you playing it? You're fucking paying for it. You're not playing it
for like 2-3 since launch.
How?
Wow.
Wait, hold on. We need to break this down. You've been paying for this game monthly. It's a subscription game. You've been playing for this game monthly since it released. Finn, this game came out in 2014, I believe.
I was part of
13, I think.
13.
I was part of 1.0.
Finn, that's 7 years you've been paying for this game and you haven't played it?
I respect it. He's just throwing the Patreon money at it.
I played 1.0. No, look, here's the real reason. And there was, when you first got into it, that was when I was going to finally jump into. It's time. I don't have the time to delve into it, an MMO, without other people to play around and play with. And
Finn, you have me. You have Jeff.
Look, I'm not against it, and I'm built. And the other problem was my computer keeps dying on me.
Get it on PS4. Get it on PS4.
Well, I'm not gonna buy it again.
Why not? You have to sacrifice not just your family but your pocketbook for MMOs.
He's just gonna pay for it for 7 years straight.
Yeah,
but not buy it again.
That's the thing, right? Jessica makes a great point. You've already probably dropped like $3,000 into this game and you haven't played it. What's another $59.99?
I have the collector's editions for all the expansions.
Oh my God, Finn!
Look, that's just how I support Final Fantasy. Let me live my life.
All right, Finn, what have you actually been playing? Like let's talk about games you're actually playing.
This week has been no games except stuff on my, looking at Crosscode mournfully and not being able to play it because I moved this week and my life is nothing but unpacking right now.
What'd you get it on?
It is. Get what on?
What'd you get Crosscode on?
You know that. I've been playing it with you, Switch.
Okay, well then that's my whole point. It's literally a portable console. Just pick it up and play it.
I've been busy. I go to work, I come home, we unpack, I go to sleep. It sucks.
I already finished it.
Until next week, I'm not going to be able to do anything fun. I played like 2 rounds of Fall Guys the day before we moved. And that's always fun. But yeah, man, it's been a rough week.
So you haven't really. That's a good point. You haven't really been playing too much because you've been moving.
Yeah,
And that's what you've been doing to kind of keep your mind off the world, is moving.
Sure.
Yeah, there you go.
Then,
that's an expensive distraction.
Yeah, it really is.
Prepping to be a dad.
Look at
doing
you.
a lot of that fun stuff.
Finn, you're going to be such a good dad.
I cannot wait.
You're going to be a good dad. I've got a nice little onesie I'm getting custom made for the kid. You're going to like it.
I went and I was shopping and I just walked by the baby section. I just bought random stuff for the unknown child.
Aww.
I don't even know what it is yet, but it doesn't matter.
That's the best.
I bought stuff. I'm excited.
Enjoy it now while you can, Finn, because sooner or later you have a 12-year-old who just fucking gives you lip. And it's just the best. It's the best. I love my son, but damn, he's probably listening right now. I guarantee you he's listening right now too. So he lives with his mom and he listens to the podcast. So son, stop giving your father attitude. But
that's really cute though. Actually, that's very cute that he listens.
He does. And what's funny is that like his friends at school listen too, and he was like, "That's my dad," and they didn't believe him. They were like, "No, they're like, no, Dad is that cool," and I'm like, "Hell yeah, I'm cool. You're damn right, I'm cool." I mean, look at this. Let's be fair, right? Like, if you had a 12-year-old and your 12-year-old came downstairs and your dad had a room like this, like that's literally that's like some cool next level dad shit right there, right?
Now, what they would say is, "What's that shit? Where's Fortnite?"
I will say this though, like I'm trying to get him into other games, and he's like, but Fortnite. I'm like, oh, Jesus, kid, there are other games other than Fortnite. Like,
John, what you need to do is you need to lobby Epic to put some Final Fantasy content.
I really do.
And gateway him in.
I really do. So like, I guess I should talk about what I've been playing. You know, speaking of Final Fantasy, now I haven't been playing any Final Fantasy this week, unless you count Final Fantasy 14, which I've actually been playing a shitload of. But I've been replaying Mother 3 on Game Boy Advance. I got the translation card. There's a really good translation available on the GBA card that you can get from Etsy. I would love to actually pay Nintendo real money to play this game on Switch, Nintendo, but this is our only recourse. But if you've never played Mother 3, it is one of the not just greatest RPGs, but one of the best games ever, not just made, but written. This game has so much heart behind it, and it's about I can hear myself. That's weird. Finn, I think it's you. But it's a story about two brothers, basically. And it's one of the like, I got emotional at the end of it. It is really deep. The writing is really off the wall and ridiculous, but also really knows how to grab you and kind of really wring a lot of emotion out of you. And it's got a really cool rhythm-based combat system. Finn, I know you've played Mother 3, but Jeff and Jessica, have either of you ever played this?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's so.
I haven't had a way to. I've heard it's amazing though.
It is like. Go ahead, Jeff.
I haven't actually. This is going to be embarrassing. I'm going to lose my gamer card for this. I don't understand. What's Mother's relationship to Earthbound?
Okay. All right. So each one of these games has a theme about motherhood, which is why in Japan they're called Mother, right? There are actually three Mother games. There's Mother 2, and Mother 3. Earthbound, which was localized for the Super Nintendo in 1994, is Mother 2. Mother 1 never came here. That was on, and it was finally localized on the Wii U eShop as Earthbound Beginnings. And then Mother 3 is Mother 3. It's the third game in the series. So it goes Mother 1, and then Earthbound, which is Mother 2, and then Mother 3. These games are all set. It's a continuing storyline. Mother 1 and 2 feature the same antagonist, for example. Mother 3 has characters that were around in Mother 1 and 2. So it's, and there's a long, convoluted kind of story behind these games, but they're all set in the same world. There is a continuity there.
Ness is the main character, right?
So in the first one, Ninten is the main character because, Nintendo. Ness is the main character in 2, and Lucas is the main character in 3.
Yeah, I know them. They're in Smash Bros.
Exactly. That's how most people know them. They're in fucking Smash Brothers.
Do you ever feel bad that they didn't do a pun name for Lucas?
I just feel bad that I feel bad that there's no Gigas stage in Smash Brothers, Finn, because wouldn't that be perfect? Just like that really fucked up trippy background with Gigas, yeah, but no, the Mother games are great. And I would love for Nintendo to even bring Earthbound to the Switch. Because I mean, Mother 3 is one of those games, like if you talk to anybody who likes, imported games, and you ask them what is the one game that you would want localized if you could pick one, like everybody's going to say Mother 3. Like that game is pretty much reached like legendary status in large parts of the community. And I think Nintendo will eventually, like, it's such a meme at this point that Reggie Fils-Aimé actually like is aware of it, and you still like film videos about it, like poking fun at the fact that like everybody always asks him about Mother 3, or at least used to. But yeah, I'd love to be able to play this legitimately on the Switch, but seeing as how I can't, I am playing it again on my Game Boy Advance, and it is just such a wonderful experience. I've also been playing Catherine on Switch. I've been replaying Catherine. I played it for the first time on the PS3, and I love the gameplay, but there were definitely some problematic elements in how it handled a particular trans character, Erica. And I was told that those were actually mitigated in the Catherine full body release. So I haven't really gotten to that point yet. Again, gameplay's still great. Like it's a great game. Like I like everything Atlas puts out, but it'll be. I'm really hoping that they did a rewrite to kind of mitigate some of that stuff, because it was problematic then and it's problematic now. So I'm kind of hoping they'll mitigate that.
Atlas has kind of a spotty record with that stuff, don't they?
They really do.
Yeah.
Like Jess, did you ever play P4G?
Yeah.
Like the way they
it's one of my favorite games.
I love Persona 4 Golden. But like, for example, the way they handled Kanji, like certain aspects of Kanji's character, it's kind of like
Kanji, the way they handled NATO. I mean, the general relationship with women in all of the Persona games is just like troubling. And I feel like the second that I say that, people are on my case about how I don't like the game and blah 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 blah, and like that's not true. I love those games, and Catherine's the same way. Catherine is so much fun to play, and I love like the art that they do. I love how stylish all their games are. But Atlas just like has some real issues with how they treat marginalized groups and women. So
I'm not even sure. I don't think it's intentional. I just think it's like being brain dead. Like I don't, or maybe like I don't know. Like I
think I would be inclined to agree. Honestly, I think it's just kind of ignorance. Because I think that in their minds, when they make these games, like they're trying to be progressive, right? Like they're trying to tackle like these serious issues. They're trying to talk about sex. They're trying to talk about like dark topics, and even with like the new character they included in Catherine Full Body,
talking about Rin.
Yeah, like they're trying to kind of push the conversation in a direction that seems progressive, but then it's like I honestly don't think they have the right people working on their team. I think that they need to, and I don't mean that as in like I think they should fire people who work there, but I think that it's one of those things to where it's a boys club, and it feels like it's a boys club.
Yep.
And I feel like if they actually like sought out people and they're like, hey, we're going to talk about, trans issues, we should actually probably have somebody who's transgender like on our staff so that they can weigh in on this and we can figure out how to respectfully kind of talk about these issues. Because right now it just seems like we know this exists, we're going to talk about this, and we're going to kind of fumble.
It's weird, right? Like I most of me believes that it's a bunch of dudes, like you said, who are trying to do well. Like they're trying to do right. At the same time, if you keep making the same mistakes, at some point you're going to stop getting you can't use that excuse anymore of, okay, sorry, we didn't, we're going to do it better this time. Just do better. Like hire a consultant, hire a trans individual. Because like as much as I love these games, it is getting a little frustrating to see these same mistakes keep getting repeated over and over and over. Go ahead, Jeff.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I mean, it's not even enough, I don't think, to just have one. I understand, especially for smaller studios, it costs money to hire consultants and things like that. But like, the problem is, I think there's an attitude where like, okay, we've got a gay character in our game, so we had one gay person and we talked to them about like marginalized, groups and stuff like that. They don't have a singular opinion or voice, right? There's still people with like different viewpoints and stuff. And one trans person might find something offensive that another trans person. So like, you really need to make it. Yeah,
like that's a huge issue. It's just like it's acting as if one person's like a monolith for their community, and it happens a lot of times when you do see like people trying to push for progress, and like it's a good thing to do, but at the same time, like, you have to step back and you have to think, am I tokenizing this person? Am I bringing them on just because like, hey, we're talking about Black representation in games? Or especially this summer, you saw so many people bringing on, just like different people in the industry who like people of color or Black individuals. And it's a good thing because, like that's obviously needs to be done, but it's something that we should have been working at the last X amount of years, not something to where it's like, well, now suddenly I want your time. I want your work. I want your effort. And like I said, it needs to be thought of like, am I using this person as a monolith for their community? Am I using this person to tokenize them and to bolster, like to improve how I feel about the work that I'm doing? And yeah, I mean, Atlas is one of those companies where I would agree with you. I think they're trying to be progressive. I think that shows in the types of games they make and the subjects that they touch on. But I don't think that they're actually putting in the work they need to be doing to get there in a respectful and meaningful way.
And I think like the other piece of this that really bothers me is SDGC as a community has a lot of LGBTQ representation. Like we have a large LGBTQ audience, and I love them. And we wouldn't be SDGC without that part of our community. And when I see these issues pop up in games that I love, like Atlas, like so many fucking Atlas games, they're made that much more stark for me, because it's like, I'm playing this game and I'm enjoying this game, but at the same time, like I feel bad for enjoying it, because I don't know. Does that make any sense? Because
no, I totally know what you mean. Like, I feel, like I said, Persona 4 Golden is like my top 5 favorite games. But at the same time, like it's impossible for me to separate some of the content from that game. And I haven't gone back. I mean, everybody was so excited when it was announced that it was coming to Steam. And I was hesitant because I was like, man, like I loved that game. I played that on Vita. I used to work at a television station, and like I would have shifts where I was just monitoring stuff basically overnight. And so I would just be able to kill time. So I remember playing that at work. And I had such a good time. I remember beating that game and like missing it. Like I missed those characters. I just wanted to jump right back into it.
Yeah.
But when it was announced it was coming to Steam, I was like, do I really want to replay this? Like, do I want to tarnish that? Because I feel like at this point, if I play it again, I'm going to be kind of bitter about things. And I think that's why if you're a game dev, you need to have different people on your team. If you're a content creator, you need to have different people on your team. Yep. And I think just as a person, like this is why, like, if you're somebody who has all white friends or all, male friends, and you're sitting there playing these games and you're just like, I wonder why everybody's so upset. Like, people can just calm down. It's just a game. Break out of like that group that you're in and have friends from the LGBTQ community and have friends of different ethnicities and backgrounds. And you'll realize, like, you'll be like, oh man, I don't like this because like this hurts people that I care about. And it shouldn't necessarily be something to where like you have to know a person to care about people's feelings, right? But like at the same time, once you do, and once you humanize these issues and you understand, it changes how you view things. It changes how you view media. It becomes a lot more important to you.
I have, and after this, I'll kick it over to Finn and Jeff. But I want to get this last point in. I've noticed, like for example, when Persona 5 Royal came out and they said, well, we're gonna fix some of the homophobia that's in the game. from individuals like us, that was met with applause. You know, that's what you should do, because nobody should feel uncomfortable playing any game, you know, in that regard. But there were a lot of people who were upset because, oh, you know, you're getting political, and oh, you're censoring the game, and oh, you know, and a lot of people said, well, you know, you're censoring the artist's original vision. But I firmly believe that most of those people wanted to keep it in there because it was hurtful and because it made people feel bad, because they're bigots. And I don't understand why anybody would have a problem with not wanting to hurt people, not wanting to make them feel like less of a person than they are. I just don't get it. And maybe I'm glad I don't get it. I don't know. Jeff and Finn, what do you got?
No, I was gonna say, like, on top of everything you talked about, I guess this is like we're talking about Atlas and Persona now, but my issue with, kind of as I think more about the games, is I don't have a problem. We see it all the times in movies, right? Like coming of age movies and stuff like that. There's a weird line when you're exploring sexuality among youth, like, you know, teenagers, and the games are kind of strange to me now the older I get, because the protagonist is like a stand-in for you, and so, like, whereas when I watch a movie, it's not weird, like I'm just watching, you know, these people exist and, you know, discover themselves and things like that. But like, there's just parts of the game that like really are like talking to you, and it's either like older characters in the game talking to a really young character, or like really young characters, but I don't know, it's maybe this is just me. I just you know, I played Persona 4 Golden probably like almost 8 years ago now, and I mean, I was still in my 20s then, but it's just something that I maybe didn't think about at the time, and the more I kind of sit on it, I'm like, that's another thing I think they need to kind of work on. Like, there's just they do tackle good themes, but like some of the way stuff is sexualized and stuff in the game, I'm like, there was one part in Persona 4 that really bothered me, and I think it was like a bunch of the guys were like sneaking in on the girls or something like that. And
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and so like, okay, but if you're gonna do that, you need to like have some sort of consequence for them, or some sort of message. Like, what did they learn from that? Like, what was the purpose of why is this actually happening? And everyone just kind of like laughed it off, and I was like, I don't know.
Well,
yeah,
no, Jess, please.
Go ahead.
No, please.
Oh, well, I mean, like, I think that there are several instances of that in the game. Like, you have a character, like, you have the teacher in Persona 5, right? Who your character ends up developing feelings for. And instead of being your teacher, and instead of being an adult and being a woman who is probably 15 years older than you and in a position of power over you, you know, like, instead of addressing this and being like, hey, like, I understand you have feelings for me, and, you know, this is valid, and this is like, and kind of exploring where like that fantasy or those feelings can come from when you have like somebody, and, you know, because I mean, I feel like a lot of people have had crushes on teachers, right? Like, it's a totally normal thing. But instead of like exploring why that happens and like having a conversation about it, you just have this woman who becomes the statutory rapist, and who just like, who is your teacher and who is also letting you cut class and having sex with you. And like, that's just something in a game all about like corrupt adults and you know, and kind of like trying to correct behavior that is corrupt or predatory. When your first boss in the game is a male teacher who's having sex with female students, to like later on have that as a romantic connection, it just feels kind of gross.
You talking about Kamoshida?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kamoshida sure is a character. Yeah. I actually, when I fired up Catherine Full Body, I was met with something like, I was really excited. You know, I was like, oh, you know, I remember, I love the gameplay so much. Let's see what they're doing with the story. See if they cleaned it up. And like literally right off the bat, they introduce you to Rin by having her run down an alley, and she bumps into Vincent, and they land on the ground, and she's literally sitting on his face. And I was like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, like, okay, Atlas, here we go. And then she got up, and I was like, that girl looks really young. Oh no. And I don't like, I mean, come on, guys. Like what? I don't like the more I think about it, like the more I'm just like, what?
I mean, and like with Catherine too, like, and this just goes into like, honestly, all of like Atlas's treatment of women is just like horrific. Like I love their games, but God, like you play it and you're just like, why do you have to be this way? Like, why do you have to do this? I mean, in Persona 4 Golden, it's like if you're dating more than one of the women, once you get to the Valentine's Day scene, it's like you essentially like start gaslighting people. You're like, oh no, you're crazy. Like it's just you. It's always you. Like, and that's how you treat these women who are like crying and who are like, no, I feel like you like somebody else. Like, no, it's just you. You know, and just like the way that the women are constantly like having to depend on you. There's like a weird dynamic there. And Catherine, it's like Catherine is the perfect example of taking women and then giving them the most shallow, tropey background you can give them. Like Catherine with a K, your fiance, is just a bitch.
Yep.
You know, at least like in the first game, they added a little bit to her and gave her more of a story and full bodied, which is nice because they made her seem like good. She had a real personality. But she's your nagging girlfriend who you're kind of sick of. And then they make the character who is sexual and who like owns her body and herself is a literal fucking demon.
Yeah, an actual succubus. Yeah.
Yeah, like she's bad. Like she is the bad slutty character. And then you have Rin, who is like that fantasy of like she's childlike. She literally looks like she's 12 years old. She is very innocent. She doesn't know how to take care of herself. She has amnesia. Like it's basically like taking care of a child. Like and it plays to that like this girl is like my little dependent. You know, it's weird. Like they like fall into those tropes and it's so uncomfortable.
Yeah, I you know, you could say the same thing about Reese actually. In Persona in P4 and G. I remember when you get to Reese's palace and you're introduced to Shadow Reese and the whole thing is basically just like I'm a stripper and I'm going to show I'm going to show you everything. Like I'm going to reveal, and I'm just like I was playing this and like my wife was sitting next to me on the couch and I had my Vita and I was like
yeah.
I was like
it's
and,
such a bummer too. Like On and Rise are two of my favorite characters. Like they have very similar personalities. On with her modeling and Rise with like her like idol career. But like I really love characters, especially female characters who are like who have beauty and who have it all. But like are also dealing with like insecurities and struggling and like who feel like well-rounded characters. And like On is honestly one of my favorite female characters because she has that stigma at school that she has to kind of overcome where people kind of judge her based on how she looks and but at the same time she's still like a smarter student. She's a really good friend. She goes, after her friend is in the hospital after she's incredibly depressed and has an incident there, like she's the person who goes and visits her in the hospital, and she's just a really kind, caring person. And to see like the characters just kind of sexualized and written off, like it sucks. It kind of hurts. She goes through this whole thing of being like, this is, people judge me as being overly sexual and I can be that, but I'm also myself and I own who, that, and I'm more than that. And then they throw her as soon as she gets her persona into a cat suit with her boobs hanging out, and she's like a 15-year-old girl. Yeah. And it's just like, what are you trying to say here? Like, what are you being fan servicey? Is this for the guys? Or are you actually trying to have like this character who is emboldened,
owning her sexuality?
Yeah.
And I think like a really good contrast to that is a character like Bayonetta. Who like a very smart friend of mine once told me, well, actually, it was more of like an online discussion, so she wasn't speaking directly to me. It was on Twitter, but somebody brought up Bayonetta Sexuality, and she said something very smart. She said, Bayonetta Sexuality isn't for you; it's for her. And I feel like she's right. Though, like that was Bayonetta is a very sexualized character, but Bayonetta owns it. Like she she dresses like that, and she is that way for herself, and not for anybody else. And I feel like that's something that Atlas to this day still struggles with. And to be quite honest with you, until they hire some kind of consultancy, I don't know if it's something they're ever going to get past. Because I mean, this has been the way they are since, I mean, as far back as I can remember. Go ahead, Jeff.
I think the problem. Yeah. No, I was just going to say. I think the problem, and this is why I'm not even really comfortable talking that much about this topic, because I'm a guy. Like, I don't want to speak for women, but I think you need more women in games, because the problem is you have like women characters that are written by guys. So even when they try to, address those topics and do it in a right way, they just literally can't, because they don't have that perspective that they need. So, I don't think this problem will be solved until we have, more women in more prominent roles in the games, in a developer writing these characters. And I think you'll see some of these problems go away, not entirely, but because a lot of these problems, they're written or directed. It's the male gaze, right? That's still something that seeps into games all the time, because the conversation turns so black and white. It's like, oh, sexualized characters are bad, get rid of it. It's like, no, like, sex is fine in games. It just has to be done the right way.
Yeah, and like I think that's a thing, that the second that you criticize how women are portrayed in games, like you get the men who jump on you and who are like, well, you just want, like, just because she's hot doesn't mean, like, you want everybody to look like Ellie from The Last of Us 2. Like that's the world that you want, which, like, fuck off if you're one of those people. Like, I'm sorry that women look slightly different. I don't know. That's just a whole other thing that we don't have to get into. But no, like, I literally, like, my favorite female character is Tifa from Final Fantasy VII, right? And she's like a very sexy, like she wears a crop top and a sports bra and a short skirt, and like, but the thing with her is, like, it doesn't ever, like, okay, definitely does have that male gazy feel, right? Like, I can't ignore that just because she's a favorite. But at the same time, like, it doesn't feel like grotesquely out of place, right? Like, I can see, like, it makes sense, it's in line. But when you have a character like Ann, who is like a 15, 16-year-old girl and who's going through all of this stuff with constantly being sexualized and being told, like, oh, you're just sleeping with the teacher. And then when she finally, like, reclaims that, she's put in something that seems so incredibly, like, not her, and like I wouldn't even care if it's a cat suit, right? Like, if they want to do the cat thing, but like the red thing with the zippers on the nipples and the boobs, like, spilling out, and like the way, like, even the poses that she'll make, like when she's knocked down, just like her ass, like, up in the air, and like it's just it's like, it's weird. Like, this is like a 16-year-old girl. Like, you can make her, she's a model, you can make her kind of, like, I feel weird saying sexy in regards to a 16-year-old girl, but you can make her cutesy. You can have that edge and make her, like, discovering her sexuality and claiming that and being comfortable with it, despite how people make her feel about it. But, like, that to me just 100% feels male gazy, and it feels like it kind of is counteractive to the story they're actually telling with her. And I think that's a thing. Like, I think you're right. Until we have more women who are actually, like, in the writing room and working on this, we're gonna see men who kind of get it with good intentions, but who don't quite land because they don't have the experience. They don't really understand what they're saying, I think, completely.
And I Jessica, I want to address something that somebody said in chat. They said, I'm feeling sad about liking these games now. Try not to do that, because, the things that we love won't get better if we don't criticize them. It's, like we can love things and still find flaws in them and want those things to be better. And we want them to be better because we feel so strongly about them. Don't ever feel bad about, like, liking a game like Catherine, for example, or P4G.
I like them all.
Yeah. So do I.
I think they're really fun games. I really like I said, I like the characters. I like the story. I like the art. Like, I like several aspects. It's just, like, even though I do love them, I like to be able to take a step back and be like, okay, I love them, but these are the issues. And I think that, like, we should do that with all things, right? Like, we even do that with people in our lives. Yeah. You just because you love a person doesn't mean you're, like, 100% you're good all the time. Like, there are going to be things people do that piss you off, and, like, what do you do at that point? Do you just write them off as bad, or do you have conversations and and talk about it. And that's what we should do with our games too. We should have conversations and talk about it and say, this is what makes me uncomfortable.
Well, we looks like we lost Finn.
Yeah.
Finn kind of just dropped off the face of the earth here.
No, John, you can't see the chat. His phone was dying, so he had to bounce.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, well, that makes sense, I guess. He could have said bye.
He did. He was saying it in the chat that you can't see because you're running the stream.
Okay.
But it's just keeping in theme of the night.
Yeah, boy. Sorry for all the technical difficulties tonight. Everyone. That's we haven't had like when we were off the air. Jeff made a good point. It's like, it's been a long time since we've had technical difficulties that bad. So
I'll reset the counter.
Yeah, reset the clock. It was bound to happen sooner or later. We are pushing up against 10:30 here, so we'll go ahead and start wrapping it up here. Jessica, you were a delightful guest, and like I said, I've been a really big fan of your social media presence and the work you've been doing with Uppercut, and I could not be happier for your internship at Paste. And it is, like I said, really, really cool to see your career kind of come into its own. I think there are some really, really big things in store for you in the future, and I'm very excited to see what the next step is for you. So good luck in the future. You're great. You're fantastic.
Thank you. That is so sweet of you. I really appreciate that. And thank you for having me on here. This show is so cool. You guys are so cool.
It's normally better. It's normally like run like Derek runs this a lot better than I do. Yeah, Derek runs this a lot better than I do. But Jessica, for anybody who doesn't know who might be listening, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at justjessisfine. And yeah, I plug everything that I do on Twitter. So if you want to like follow Uppercut or Paste or anything like that, it's all just on my Twitter.
Excellent. Jeff, Jeff's not really on Twitter much anymore.
I yeeted myself out of Twitter a long time ago. So you can find me in the SDGC.
He's in the Discord. He's in the Discord. Yeah. In fact, one of the mods, can we get Nightbot to throw out the Discord link? We have a Discord. We're up to thank you, Rar. We have 260 people in there now. Like, it's a big.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no,
we're pushing up against 300. Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting close to 300.
Good.
Yeah, no, we got a large Discord, which is why I like to say that SDGC is just a podcast. It's a community. We have channels in there, not just for games, but for television, movies, for venting, mental health, all kinds of stuff. So if you're just looking for a group of friends to come hang out with, we focus on positivity and inclusivity. And you are welcome. You are more than welcome if that's something that interests you into our Discord. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up. So please stay tuned for that. Do we got anything else, Jeff? Is that it? I think
that's it. I think we should just wrap up before anything else goes wrong.
Yeah, I know. All right. Well, this has been SDGC.